Now you should be able to see the piece I'm painting on pretty well. This is what I started with. This again is another little, I found a tile that looks like a little teapot. And originally I just painted a tile and thought, oh, that'll look fine. And then when I put it back and just set it into the tea tile, the trivet to see what it looked like, I was disappointed. It didn't look as nice as I thought it would. So I've learned that what I need to do is sit down and lay out my design with the trivet around it, or whatever frame or whatever I'm going to use, so that I get an idea of where I want my flowers, and so they turn out to fill in the space a little better and give me a little more color. So we're going to do forget-me-nots today. And now for those of you that aren't familiar with forget-me-nots, I have a piece that I painted. This is a forget-me-not. It's those little blue flowers that grow out in your yard. And we're going to begin by loading our brush, and I'm using a big background brush. It's going to be a little different than what we did in the past. Instead of painting in our flowers on the first try, we're actually going to put the background in and then pull the flower out. And as I paint, you'll see what I mean. I'm going to mix a little, I have Tahiti, which is a color that you can't get very easily. Paula White carries it, I like it. And I'm going to mix it with a little Copenhagen and maybe a little bit of the black blue. And I'm using my 1/2-inch brush to get started. And I'm just going to do that crosshatch. We talked about that before. I'm going to do a crosshatch painting here. Can you see what I'm doing? There. And it's going to look a little messy and a little weird at first. And you just keep adding the color and adding lighter colors on the outside. You want to go lighter as you go away from the center. Now, I'm the type of person that likes to just add color and then blend it. And you can do that. You don't have to. I'm going to take a little bit of cool shadow that I have here, put it up here, put a little down here, a little here, a little here. Okay, and now I'm going to start to blend it. I'm wiping my brush as I go through this. As I go through, just mixing the colors with the crosshatch kind of background that I always use. If I get too much color on the brush, I press down on my paper towel and take it off, and then go right back on. I don't clean my brush. I just go right back on. Can you see what I'm doing here? I'm going to add, it's a berry, kind of a red purple. So if you have a red purple, a violet, a purple of some sort, that would be fine. And you see how I'm just adding it on here and there. I'm showing you what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I got to turn this. You always have to turn the piece, because what you want to do is paint away from yourself or towards yourself, and as lightly as possible now, just to blend this very, very lightly. I'm going to turn the piece again and keep blending very lightly. Okay, so that's the top. Actually, that's the bottom of the tile. Now, the other color I'm going to put in right now is a little bit of yellow. I'm using Buttercup, which is pretty bright because I want to make sure you can see it. And I'm just adding that in. And I'm going to add a little up in here, just so you can kind of see where my light is coming from. Now remind me where my light is coming from. My light is coming this way across the piece. So it's going to be on the tile this way. By the way, the oil I'm using is Agnes Ryan's painting medium. It's a semi-dry painting medium. I get it from a painter's collection. And I really like a painter's collection because they carry a lot of the products that I have always used. And some of the stores have gone out of business, but it's nice to have the products still available. So she does carry a lot of the older products that you can't get anymore. And they are semi-drying, so if you put it on, you can't mess with it the next day very much, but it's nice because you can get some of the products that if you're used to some of them. Alrighty, so now I've got that on. Now you'll see everything's not super dark, and that's because this is only a first coat. Second coat, you can go in and, as you know, we can put the depth in and what have you. So I've blended my colors, and now I'm going to take a brush. I have two brushes, and there's no sizes on them, but they're rounded. So I think this one you can see a little better if I hold it up this way. It has a rounded tip on it. And so you can kind of roll the tip on your paper towel like this and get it so it's rolled and a little easier to work with. So what I'm going to do now is take my turpentine, and then I'm going to roll it on my paper towel. See how I have see how I have like a little point on that? And I'm going to go in, and I already put little dots on here. Can you see? Yeah, you can see the dots. And these lines are where I'm either going to put a stem or a leaf or something. And the dots are the centers of the main flowers. And I did that just so that I can get started and do the main flowers. I'm going to have to, you can't see it down there. I'll try to hold it up, but I'm just wiping out the flowers. Now the petals, got my hand in it down here, so I'll have to clean that up later. There's 5 petals on these flowers. And the reason I'm wiping them out and they're white is because the next time, I know they're supposed to be blue, but the next time they will be blue. So you wipe out the 5 little petals, then you go to the next major dot that you put on your plate. And you wipe out. And if they start getting, I don't know if you can see, they get a little bit of paint in them and you don't really like it, you can go back into your turpentine and then roll the brush again so it's nice point on it, and go in and just four, 5, and they don't have to be perfect. And then I take out the center, because you're going to put yellow in the centers yet on this time. Okay, and I'm going to do, roll that a little better. I'm going to do another one down here. I think you can see. Yes, you should be able to see. Now, I have three main flowers on here. And if I don't have to clean my brush, I won't, because now I'm going to put a few little petals behind the others. Now remember, if they're under the main flower, you're not going to see the full petal. So here I'm going to put 1, 2, see how I did that? Just to give the impression that there are other flowers there. I did a little 3 there. Now I'm going to do another main one. I have a dot here, and I have a dot down further, and I'm just going to keep doing it. I've got 4 little flowers. I'm going to put a 5th one over here. But I think it's turning out okay. You can kind of see what I've got there. And I did the center. And now I'm just going to go in and put little pretend flowers all around there. And then I try to spread out around this. So I'm going this way, this way, this way. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to put a little flower down there. Whoops. Let's just do it this way and this way. Didn't get that quite. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this is probably a good example right here. There's a little bit of a blur around the center of that flower, and it's mainly because I had too much turpentine on my brush, and the turpentine just came right off onto the plate and started. It does like a bleed out. It spreads out. So that's how you know you did too much. Okay, and I'm going to do a little one here, and maybe do two up here. And let me think. I think I'll stop there. I don't want to do too much. And I think this coming down here, I'm going to make. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but sometimes there are like little buds on those stems that are still haven't opened up, and so I'm making a couple of those down here, just little white buds. Next time we will actually color them in. So there are my little white buds, and I might do one up in here on this side where I have this line over here. Need a little more turpentine, and I'm just gonna oops. I guess this is a good lesson too. It's better to paint towards yourself. If you don't, you see how you get a little darkness near the tops of those, whereas if I do it this way, it keeps the paint under control a little better. And a little at the end there. Okay, so I have my basic design. Now I'm going to be filling in the centers of these flowers. I'm going to do that with my pointer. Sometimes it's called a 00, 5 zeros. It's really, 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 let me see if I can get it in the frame here. Really, really thin. It's like 2 hairs put together. And I'm going to take my buttercup yellow, and you don't have to have these exact colors. If you have a yellow that's nice, the one color that you probably, yellow eats, they call it eating other colors, because it tends to just sort of fade when you fire it and take some of the color around it away. So you want to find a yellow that you know won't do that. Albert yellow tends to do that a lot, and that's a fairly common color. Mixing yellow, the reason it's called mixing yellow is because it mixes well with other colors. I've got a lot of paints from an estate, and I was very fortunate. And buttercup and canary and egg and mixing yellow were all in that group. And so I take full advantage of those that I know won't cause a problem for me. So there you see I filled in my centers with yellow. And now it's time to do the leaves. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the leaves on a forget-me-not, but they're fairly long. They kind of look like, let me see where I can do that. I can do it on this tile here. I'll take my pen. Now, when you're writing on your tiles, I use a Sharpie, the ultrafine point, but this is kind of what the leaf looks like. It comes out like this in a point. And then there's a vein that runs down the middle of it. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do, but I'm going to, as you can see on this one, I really didn't draw in anything or outline anything. I'm just painting in as I go. So I'm going to get myself a brush that will work for this. So this is an 8, which is kind of big, and I'm going to use a moss green. So it's a light green. With any of these, if you don't have the color, like I said, you can use a light yellow. You can use a light green. I have moss green. Chartreuse is nice. They don't make it much anymore, so it's harder to find. And I'm going to full load with the moss green and side load just on my thumb side. If you're left-handed, it's always your thumb side that you put the darker color. I'm using the brown green. And we'll put a little leaf back here. Yep, it's the larger brush, seems to be working better. Put a leaf back there. And now you kind of have to size it up and say, okay, now where do I want the next leaf? I think I want to leaf out this way on this side. Let's put one up on the top here. The hardest thing is pulling the leaf behind the flower, but in this case it doesn't matter. I just paint it over the flower. I'll just pull the flower right back out. You can't always do that with your leaves, but in this case you can, which makes it very, very nice. So see, I painted over that flower. Now I'm going to go through and pull that flower out. So I will go down in this section, do the same kind of thing that we did up at the top. I will finish it all off. Then I'll go back in and sort of look at it very carefully, step away for a while. Like I said, it's always better to step away for a little while and then decide if you're happy with what you did. And I will touch up these edges where I touched it, because this is going in a tile and I don't want those edges to be showing like that. So I've touched up the edges a little. Then I'm going to go down here and start the same process over. Not quite as extensive. I want this to be a smaller bundle. And like I said, I like a cloudy background effect. So I will just very carefully work some of those clouds around. I'm doing this quick and dirty just so you can kind of get an idea for what I'm aiming for. And I'll do it all the way around. I'll fill in the middle. I will wipe out my flowers down here, add a few leaves, and add a few of these little, whatever these are, the little buds that are coming down. And right now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I probably need a couple more flowers like right in here, like maybe there. Okay, and this is how it will look in the tile when we get it done on our first fire. Hi, I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope that you will watch future programs by liking and subscribing to my page. If you do subscribe, I would really appreciate it so that other people who have a similar interest will be able to see more of this kind of programming. I have studies available at my website along with products. If you're interested in finding out more about those, please look at the description box below. Thank you.